I'm engaged. So today I've got Tabby on, and Tabby is going to be talking lots and lots about weddings, the perfect wedding, and the mental health side to a wedding day as well. So Tabby, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, thank you for having me, first of all. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm Tabby Kerwin, and I am the owner of Mode 4. And we specialise in weddings and events and various other different parts of our business as well, but we'll focus on those ones for now. But the main focus of what we do is putting the well-being and mental health of our clients first. So that's what we do. We are home of what we call the Calm Bride, which is where we do wedding coaching, if you like, to help people sort of manage their emotions and all the stresses and strains that go along with a wedding. And we also have our Weddings on the Mind, where we focus on our wedding professional colleagues as well, because that's really important to keep all the suppliers that you use in tip-top shape so they can help and support you.
Amazing, thank you. And I should have said hello, it's Claire Amelia here from Emporella as well. So that was a fantastic intro, and Tabby and I was just having a conversation before we jumped on here, and we was just discussing wedding scenarios during COVID, and we was getting quite, ooh, weren't we, Tabby?
It was getting into it,
yeah. So we thought, right, let's start. So let's discuss today the perfect wedding and how our annotations go around that. So I'm going to start with some questions, Tabby. So why do you place so much importance on everything being why do we place so much importance on everything being perfect? Is it the media? Is it the pressure from friends and family? What do you think? Shall we have a conversation about this one?
Yeah, well, I think first of all we have to understand there is no such thing as perfect.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, this nothing is perfect. You know, not even fairy tales are perfect. I mean, Snow White fell asleep for 100 years and Cinderella couldn't even find her shoes. You know, there is no such thing as perfect.
Amazing.
But we've had this we've had this sort of drilled into us through media, through tradition, through pressures and all the rest of it, that you know, we have to be striving for this thing that is this most perfect thing, and it just doesn't exist. So we're looking for something that doesn't exist, and actually all the beauties in life come in imperfections. And that's where, you know, all the good stuff comes. It does come in you know, in these imperfections. And I think the biggest thing that we're striving to is these traditions. You know, this is what we're living up to, traditions of what's always been, and traditions have carried on now through magazines and all the rest of it. Well, that's a tradition, but you know, the thing I say about traditions is traditions are just peer pressure from dead people, which might seem a little harsh, but it's true. It's something did it once, someone thought it was a good idea, it was documented originally through storytelling, then through media, and now it's everyone thinks, oh, I have to do that. Make up your own story, you know, and stop striving for perfect, but strive for what is right for you. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it, that we're looking for something that really doesn't exist. You know, we see all these traditions in the media, in family pictures, in stories, and you know, we're natural born storytellers. That's how we, you know, we're evolved, if you like, as storytellers. But we feel we have to live up to these expectations from those stories. And in fact, what we really should be looking at doing is creating our own news stories, because you know, when we're all sat around a campfire, no one wants to listen to the same story twice. We all want to have our own version to tell, and that should be about our wedding. We shouldn't all, you know, we don't want to sit around with a load of brides and all end up saying, oh yes, I had that and I had that. We all want to have something different, and I think that's something different, and developing our own stories of our wedding comes from not striving for something to be perfect.
And I'm going to say, yes, Tabby, here to that. Jeez Louise, oh my gosh, I 100% agree with you. I come from a bridal shop background, so I have so many years experience of brides coming through my doors, looking for the perfect dress, looking for it to look a certain way, to flow a certain way, to sit on them a certain way, and to be perfect. But guess what? There is that many beautiful dresses you can choose from. You've got a beautiful body already, but the negative connotations behind our bodies is crazy. And so in the reality, you know, you could have the perfect dress 10 times, you could have the perfect wedding 10 times, but then you would have, things would go wrong on the day. this might not work, a button might fall off your dress. It's just natural. It's just your day-to-day things.
Yeah.
Sometimes just don't go right. It's just one of those things.
Absolutely.
So that perception's
Yeah,
how
and
we see it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And we're all looking at the same stories. We're all looking at the same magazines, the same content online. And we're seeing these things and we're thinking, oh my God, that has to be the perfect dress. But if I see a dress and I think, oh my God, that's the perfect dress for me, and it's a fishtail dress, that ain't going to work for me because I've got a backside like Gloria off Madagascar. But put me in something that's, A-line, shows off my boobs, then great. That's perfect. So yeah, we all have a different vision. Okay, if we're going to use the word perfect, we all have a different vision of what perfection is, even though it doesn't exist. Okay, we have this vision of what it is, but what we're being sold is the same vision is right for everyone. We're being sold a blanket idea for our weddings, and you know what, we need to be creative, we need to be courageous, we need to go against the mold, because that's where we're going to find our perfect and our happiness.
Amazing. And do you know what I say in regards to the perfect wedding images? Those wedding images are still edited, photoshopped pictures. There was movement before that image. There was hundreds of snaps before that image. There was no sweaty pause worrying about me doing my I do's. There wasn't the first dance where I might have tripped over my first over the train. In that editorial image that you see as perfection isn't real. It's not real life. So when someone comes into me and they say, I want that dress, and it's a model who's a size 2, stick thin, photoshopped to the nines, which really infuriates me. I say to people, that dress has been pinned into them, so it's looking perfect. They're stood in a certain stance, so then it makes their body look a certain way. They've been most likely edited, photoshopped, lightened, and to make that perfect image. But when you look at a wedding day and you are watching the day, there's people, there's movement, there's things happening, there's children falling over, there's someone spilling a drink, there's lots of things going on, but it can still be perfect, I think. But you've got to get away from that thinking, oh my God, if someone does this, then oh my God, it's the end of the world type of perfect.
Absolutely. And I think what we should be looking for is not for perfection, but be looking for kind of beauty and happiness. And that's what we should, those are the words that we should be using. What is our happiness? What makes our happy? And, what creates our happy and what is beautiful to us and looks great to us. Not looking for what we've been sold an idea as being perfect, and it's a dud sale. It's not right.
So for example, the wedding dress again, and going back to dresses because that is my niche. Where did the white wedding dress come from? The white wedding dress came from the royals. It was it oh gosh, don't quote me on the date. 1847, I think it was. She wore a white dress to an event, and since then women was replicating white dresses for their wedding days. But before then they weren't wearing white, and what you'll find as well, actually, many things in our lives have been manipulated, let's say, to do a certain way from what other people have said we should do. So for instance, giving birth on your back comes from a man wanting to watch a woman give birth on her back. Actually, get on your knees. More comfortable for you.
Exactly, it's the most illogical thing, isn't it? The most illogical thing. Work with gravity. Let it come downwards. It's ridiculous. We see those lovely, beautiful African ladies who'll lean up against a tree for a bit of support on their back, and they'll give birth without any hassles whatsoever. Because they let gravity, science do the work.
Listen to themselves, Tabby. So if we do that for our weddings, if we listen to truly what we actually want, don't look at be absorbed by everyone else, do take creative insights from people, but if we listen to what we want, then the perfect wedding can come, can't it?
Absolutely. And this is what I say, this is what I say to my clients all the time, because a lot of people coming to me, they're really overwhelmed with the whole I mean, it's a huge thing getting married, and it does have you know, effect on us and our well-being and our mental health. But then when we take in these pressures and stresses from not just ourselves but from other people, oh, you should have this, oh, you need to invite great Auntie Claudia, who you've never met in your life. You're bowing to everyone else's kind of visions and ideas, and that's not yours. You've got to listen to yourself, and that's it. Take on board what they're saying, be respectful about it, but ultimately you have to put first what you want. Otherwise you're not going to be happy, you're not going to enjoy it.
Amazing. Hear to that. So what can wedding pressure do to our mental health?
Well, yeah, a lot.
Let's take a big breath on this one, I think, because I've just had so many visions in my mind then of mental health issues that I've supported my clients with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing to say is that we have to get to grips with what the idea of mental health is. And it's a phrase that, you know, I'm getting almost sick of hearing. And, you know, that's someone who's, I'm a first aid trainer for Mental Health First Aid England and things like that. But because it's just used in the wrong way. And as soon as people hear the words mental health, they think negative. They think it's illness, they think it's condition, and it's not. Okay, we've all got mental health. It's the good stuff as much as it's the flourishing as much as it is the languishing, if you like. So that's a really important thing to remember here, that it's all the good stuff. But what it does to us in terms of leading to potential issues with mental health, it comes down to stress, you know, because stress is one of the biggest triggers for mental ill health. And stress comes from good and bad things. And I think we forget that. We think that stress is only from bad things. But, you know, the stress is this trigger to a potential negative spiral of our health. And we've got these kind of 5 different sources of stress, if you like, which are physical, environmental, emotional, acute life events, and chronic stress. And stress can come from good things as much as it can bad things, you know. So actually having children, giving birth, you know, that is causing a stress. That's an acute life event. And weddings and marriages, they fall under this category of emotional stress because it's overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. There's a lot to do. And I think we kind of have to get to grips with the difference and the definitions of stress and pressure. And they're very much different things, even though they have the kind of same effect, if you like. So stress is a response to too many demands, not enough responses. So it's that very external thing. So that's, you know, the stress of the idea of weddings, or the, you know, what other people are saying you should do, or the traditions we've spoken about already, or the seeking perfection. That is building the stress. But pressure is more internal. That's a situation in which we perceive some things at stake based on our performance. So we've got this stress coming in from the outside, but inside we're building up this pressure on ourselves, thinking, I'm not going to be good enough. Everyone's going to be watching me. My mum's going to be disappointed I haven't invited great Aunt Claudia, or whatever it is, you know. And weddings just make us quite vulnerable to stress and pressure. And we've got these 2 things sort of building up, and the only thing that's going to happen is that they're going to bubble over. And if we're not managing them, if we're not putting the helpful coping mechanisms in place and looking after ourselves, then we're just going to start to crumble. We're going to start to spiral negatively. Weddings can have a huge negative impact, as well as the fact that they can actually be one of the happiest things that we do, you know.
And if we go back to how we perceive this one day we've visualized since we was a young child. Obviously girls can be more than guys, when I talk to my partner about it, let's say, and I find we visualize it so much, we dream about it so much, and when we're actually actioning it, we've been asked to get married, we're in the motions of putting the wedding day together. And I do find sometimes, you know, brides, grooms, and even the wedding party puts themselves under a lot of pressure with their mental health. And I find collectively they're not supporting one another. So if I go back to my bridal shop again and I've got a family there and it's friends as well, and you know, I can hear people, you know, it's only a curtain, but I can hear them say negative things about this bride in the changing room, and it's constant. And I just think, you know, no wonder the pressure for a wedding, the mental health side of it is so bad, because your wedding party aren't supporting you either. You know, you have, you're expected. Yeah, you know, you expect,
and that's it, you know, and it comes from, sorry, go on.
Well, you're expected to look a certain way from them, so you never mind that you have to look a certain way for yourself, but you've got to please them as well. So the pressure behind it, wanting to, oh, and also those you know, who might have family members who are paying, also puts a lot of pressure.
Yeah, they think they own the rights to it. Yeah.
Yes.
And that is the one thing I say. I don't care who is paying for your wedding. It is your wedding. But I think more than that, you know, what we were talking before we started recording, about the idea that everyone's focusing so much on this one wedding day. Actually, what you should be focusing on is marriage. That's the important bit.
Yes.
And the marriage is about two people in that relationship. And you take on board what people say, because they're trying to be helpful, they're doing it from a place of love. But actually, what we're talking about here is being married. We're not talking about just a wedding day, we're talking about a marriage. And this really frustrates me. You know, people don't see, we've totally lost this definition between a marriage and a wedding. It's all become, you know, it's all about one day, and that's just you know, it's just rubbish. It should be about the marriage. But we're getting so much pressure. So, you know, they're getting pressure because, you know, daddy's paying for it, or mummy's paying for it, or whoever's paying for it, you know, so they get to make the decisions. No, they don't. It's as simple as that. They do not get to make the decisions in your marriage, and therefore they don't get to make the decisions about your wedding. But we do everything so negatively as well. So you saying someone's trying on a dress, and, you know, this happens in schools and teaching and all sorts of different things. If something isn't right or doesn't look right, we start with the negatives. We don't build people up first. We don't say, do you know what, you look beautiful, and then go, but I'm not sure that style dress works for your bust or your waist or whatever. But people will come out, they'll come out in a dress, and everyone will go, no, that's not right, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And so it's eaten away a little bit at how they feel, their self-confidence. And if we're not boosting someone's self-confidence, we're not helping them to deal with all the stress and strain that they're dealing with planning their wedding and their marriage and all the rest of it. So yeah, we need to build up, and everyone has these. You're right about the wedding party as well. Everyone's got an idea, which is lovely, but they're not working to a shared vision. And I think the people that come through this with the least pressure, the least stress, are the ones that are working to a shared vision, and the people involved with it are working to their vision as well.
Yeah,
because they've created a support network.
Yeah, I think you might like my quote. So I've said this for years, and I've said, and you know, I'm 33. I've been working in bridal since I was 25, and sometimes people look at me going, who are you to say this to me? Because obviously my age, I'm not engaged yet, George, and things like that.
What do you know?
Yeah, exactly. What do I know? I know that repeatedly people come into my bridal shop and go, I can't have that dress because it's my second wedding. And I say, why not? And they're like, well, it's my second wedding, I'm old. I'm like, I don't give a shit. So what? Guess what? It's your first wedding. It's your first wedding to the person you're saying I do to, not your second wedding. And guess what? In 10 years' time, if you say I do again and you renew your vows, I bet you have a total different circle of people around you on your wedding day, and you'll be celebrating your love in a different way as well. So whenever your wedding day is, guess what? You could have that wedding day continuously every single year. It's a day to celebrate your love for one another. And those people that you look around yourself for that day, those people can be there on day one, and in 20 years' time, they could still be there, but you could have a total different mix of people. It doesn't matter which day it is. You can wear whatever dress you want. So, yeah.
Do you know, I got married for the second time, but got married in 2018 to Simon. And I look at our guest list now, and even now in February 2021, if Simon was still here, you know, if we did it all again, I wouldn't invite the same people. My guest list would look totally different. There would be a core of the same people, but there'd be a lot of people that weren't there, and a lot of people who come in, and that's it, you know. So don't spend so much time worrying about what so and so said, or you should do this, or you shouldn't do this because someone else had that for their wedding, so you can't copy or whatever. If it's right for you, do it. Just be true to yourself, and that is going to have a far more positive effect on your well-being and mental health as well, because you're being true to yourself, and you know, so let's build up the self-confidence of our of our bridal couples, whether they're trying something on, whether they're sending you an image that says, what do you think of this dress? Don't go, no, that would look rubbish on you. You know, embrace it. Say, yeah, do you know what? I really like it. But have you thought about something that accentuates a different part of you, or, you know, something like that?
Yeah, I've got so this one's a sales tip for wedding suppliers. So I'm all about the mental health and supporting our customers through the process. So this is the tip for you suppliers on when you're selling something to somebody. And what you mentioned before, Tabby, absolutely hit nail on the head. I always communicate with the wedding party first, and I discuss how I like the flow of conversation to go in my shop floor, in my space, because you come to my space. And the first question I ask the bride is about what do they love about the dress they've got on. And I don't expect anyone to get involved. It's the bride. I want an answer from them. And they are talking positively, and they're looking at the positives out of that dress. They might not like it. They might have gone in the change room and go, oh, it's awful this. Now I'm like, come on, let's get out there, you know. But I still look for the positives. So tip one,
always
what the positive is. Then once you've worked out what they like, even if they might not like something about it, and you know, you could be talking about cake here or flowers or whatever, then say to them, so what is it that's not quite right for you? Then talk about the negative. But we're not going to say it's a negative. We're just going to say it's just not you. That's fine, because over there, that's you, isn't it? So in regards to that, totally agree. Always start with positive and make sure that your floor is in that space before you start working out what your bride is after, what your groom is after, what the wedding guests are after. So shall we go on to the next question?
It has to start with positivity.
Yes. Why do we tend to try to please everyone but ourselves on our wedding day? Now, I'm going to say money first up for this one. Definitely, I think if people are paying for parts of the wedding, they feel conscious, they feel like they have to do what the payee's doing and they can't do what they want to do. That's a biggie, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely money. And it's all these things as well, you know, it's the traditions again, it's this, you know, peer pressure that we're seeing, it's the stress, it's the pressures, you know, and generally as a breed, we are empaths. We always want to help other people before we help ourselves, because it comes from a place of kindness, it comes from a place of love. But what we fail to do is express that to ourselves before other people. And I think it's just when you sort of package all these things up together, so there's that being an empath, there's that kindness, there's that you know, the financial side, as you pointed out, and the traditions, it puts us at the bottom of the list. You know, our least priority is ourselves.
Yeah which is such a shame, isn't it? Because it's your wedding day. It does sometimes baffle me, actually. It really does. So we're here to make some changes, aren't we, Tabby? So
yeah, for sure.
So what would you suggest for coping with planning a wedding in lockdown?
Well, okay, do you know what, planning a wedding in lockdown is really it's no different to planning a wedding at any time. We've just got different logistics in place. But I think, you know, I'm going to come back to what we were talking about before we started recording, is that we have to remember that nowhere has anybody said that we cannot get married right now. And we're focusing too much on a wedding day and being disappointed by the fact that we can't have X amount of people at a venue and all these things, but no one's saying we can't get married. You can still start your marriage. You can go to your, you know, apply for your license, and you can have that with just the two of you and a couple of witnesses there. You can have that. And I think, you know, we've almost put too much importance on this wedding day and removed that importance from, you know, what a marriage is and all the rest of it. So there's that aspect. But in terms of trying to plan in lockdown, you know, I think the first thing we have to do is that we have to appreciate and accept that things are different, but different doesn't have to mean bad. Okay, so there's no reasons why you can't. In some ways, it's a good thing, because I mean, it's a different situation if you had your wedding planned for this date and it's had to be postponed or cancelled. Okay, that's a really different situation, obviously, because with that comes disappointment and heartbreak and maybe loss of money and all the rest of it. So that's a really difficult thing. But I think you have to be quite pragmatic about that and accept that it is out of our control. and we just have to do what's safe, and we have to put that first, you know, and fundamentally that is the safety of everybody and the health of everyone is the most important thing. But if you're in a situation where you're planning your wedding, you're not postponing, you weren't meant to get married, say this week or, you know, last summer or anything like that, it gives us time. We've got this gift of time that you can really work out. You can have these discussions in lockdown with the person you're marrying and say, look, what do we really want? Where you're not being burdened by the opinions of other people. You know, other people's opinions aren't your consent. So you can have these intimate conversations to really work out what you want and liaise with the suppliers. Find suppliers that are compatible with you, not just booking someone because you like their photos that they put on a website or because they did the wedding of so and so, you know, whatever it is. Find the suppliers that are compatible with you and talk to them, because they've got such a wealth of knowledge and expertise, and they're there to support you. So yeah, find great suppliers. And, you know, maybe, you know, it is that you want to plan your wedding yourself, but take the opportunity to have a little bit of, you know, wedding coaching or a couple of hours with someone who can just talk you through the things of how to stay calm and how to prioritize the things that really are important for you. Because I think sometimes we think, oh, we have to spend thousands and thousands of pounds on a photographer and £800 on a cake, but actually you might not even like cake, or you might not want your photo taken. You know, so there's no point spending it. So learning how to prioritize what is important with you. But I think, you know, we have to, rather than looking at this as something that's, you know, destroying everything, we have to look at and it is a challenge being in lockdown. Of course it is. It's a challenge for all of us, but we have to look at the opportunities it gives us. And it does give us this opportunity of time and conversation and finding what is right for us to do that in the right and safest way.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think some really good tips there. And I was going to mention Emporella did a Instagram live the other week about journaling, and I find I'm not planning a wedding, but I find now I've picked up journaling and I'm writing all my thoughts down and being more proactive to do what I want to do. So if you start journaling about your wedding day and you're going to start writing down, you're going to find repetitions about what you want on those days, because that's what's naturally coming out of you. And it's going to really help you plan your wedding for how you want it. So I think journaling's a really good one as well. So
journaling's great, absolutely. Anything that gets you really, you know, and stream of consciousness writing is another really good one. So it is journaling, but it's just you literally write everything that's in your head and write it down, and don't worry about it. Don't be trying to, you know, format it or edit it along the way. Just write down your actual thoughts and then go back and revisit it, read it, and you'll actually find what you really think, what you really want. You know, you'll work it out from there.
So the next question, I think we could probably do a whole session on just one question, but we'll do a quickie. Anxiety, question mark. How can we control it on our special day when all eyes are on us? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so, obviously anxiety, overwhelm, nerves, they're really natural. We all experience them. We need them. They keep us safe. So that's the thing. So I think the first thing that we need to do is to accept that. Well, it's all built into our fight and flight, you know, sort of inbuilt alarm system, if you like. So, or fight, flight, freeze and flop as it is now. So we've got this internal alarm system. It's what keeps us safe. It goes all the way back to cavemen. And they had this, you know, they had to work on the theory. Every time I step foot out of a cave, I'm going to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. If they didn't have that mentality, they'd be dead. And they only had, you know, two purposes. One was to hunt and one was to procreate. And if they'd failed and they hadn't have been cautious, none of us would be here today. So, you know, we've got this built into us, you know, we've got this inbuilt kind of negative bias and this inbuilt internal alarm system. And this is where anxiety comes from. The issue we have is when we don't know how to control it, and that's when it becomes an anxiety issue. Okay, so anxiety and nerves, absolutely normal. We all experience it when good things happen, when bad things happen. But if we don't know how to sort of manage it, that's when we sort of start going to the territory of anxiety issues. Okay, but something that's really, you know, something that we can take control of. So, you know, staying calm, giving ourselves time and space, and extending kindness to ourselves, that's what is really important, putting ourselves first. You know, things you can help yourself, being really organized, being prepared. If you've got great suppliers or you've got a a great plan, you know what's happening, everyone that's playing a role in your day, they're doing their jobs. That's then you've passed that on to them, you know, you've shared the burden, the workload, so that's really important.
I think
And then there are
sharing the
little,
workload, then, Tabby, is a good one in regards to having a hands-on wedding planner do on the day. Really takes a lot of that burden off you, the anxiety, thinking, hey, what if this goes wrong? No, it's not my issue if it goes wrong, because I've got someone to manage that.
Not my problem.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and that's it. Have great suppliers. And so, you know, where you haven't spent on that £800 cake because you don't eat cake, have an on the day coordinator, a wedding planner that can do it and take that burden off, so you can enjoy your day. You know, so make sure all the preparation's done in the right way, allow yourself to enjoy it. And then, you know, there are going to be moments, you know, just before you walk down the aisle or things like that, you're going to feel nervous, but there are great little exercises that we can do. You know, just taking control of our breathing is, you know, a few kind of breathing exercises, something like box breathing. So you breathe in through your nose over 4 beats, hold it for 4, out over 4, and then hold the out breath for 4. Do that 3 times. It's lowered your heart rate. It's helped everything. It's adjusted, you know, the balance of your stress hormones and your happy hormones. And it does it in a matter of, you know, seconds. Or things like grounding exercises that were really good. So if you're feeling like totally no clarity, all over the place and all the rest of it, just ask yourself 5 little questions. What are 5 things that I can see? 4 things that I can feel, 3 things that I can hear, 2 things I can smell, and 1 thing I can taste. And if you take, honestly, again, it's in seconds, it's just put you in touch with all of your senses, it's put you in the here and now. And your heart rate's slowed down, your breathing's, you know, helped itself, and you've got the balance again better between your stress and your happy hormones, and you're just instantly going to feel a little bit better.
As soon as you mentioned grounded, then, so I'm learning about grounding. So straight away when you said that, I was like, oh my god, I've got to put my feet on the floor, and I put my feet both flat on the floor, and I grounded myself, and I positioned myself in the position to breathe. Exactly what you. So I think amazing tip. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's so easy to do. And the good thing about it as well, that I always say to people, is no one needs to know you're doing it. Because a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to do these exercises, they're all a bit woo-woo, or people are going to judge me for doing it, or they're going to think that I'm mentally disturbed, or whatever it is that they, you know, they want to band around with it and put the stigma there with it. But no one needs to know. No one needs to know that you're doing box breathing exercises. No one needs to know that you're thinking, right, what can I see? What can I feel? No one knows. It's private, but it really makes you feel a shit ton better. It really does, you know. It's just so powerful and so simple. And the other thing that I say with anxiety on wedding day specifically as well is take time to be a part of your story. You know, take time to, when you're grounding yourself, you know, put a twist on it. 5 people I can see that are really enjoying themselves. 4 things that I can feel that are wedding related, you know, that might be my dress, my veil, whatever it is, you know. 3 things that I can hear, 3 people, who can I hear laughing or having fun, you know, and put that twist and be a part of your day, be a part of your story, and both experience it from it within, grounding, but also look at it from the outside. Take a moment to see how people are enjoying themselves and interacting with each other, or the fight that's happening in the corner. It's part of your story, you know, and embrace it.
Do you know what? I've got an amazing, exactly the same little tip. As soon as brides leave the nest, I'm like, oh my god, you're about to say I do, you're leaving. Anyway, I have this little quote that I got from my lead mama, Jane, who's also a wedding supplier. And she's always said to people, and I've carried on, and we just pause with the bride. The bride's mum might be there when they're collecting the dress, let's say, and we say, on your wedding day, just stop, just grab each other's hands, your partner's hands, who you've just said I do to, and just watch your wedding. Just watch people, just see, because it's going to go so fast. It's just going to go. And when you step back, get into a little nooky corner and just watch everybody, watch all the smiles and all the fun and the laughter and the dancing, like you said. It's amazing. And it's all those tiny little moments that you'll remember. So for instance, when people say, oh, I don't want a veil, oh, it's traditional, and I'm like, I know, so what? But guess what? I'm not a traditional girl. I'm a little bit of a woo-woo girl myself, right? And how I see veils, veils as a romantic little part of a wedding. So they've got the veil over the face, they're walking down the aisle, and they've got to the end. You can practice at home with a tea cozy before anybody says anything. But they're at the end of the aisle, and your other half lift. They've got to do it to see your face. They've got to lift that veil off their face. You've got to have eye contact because there's movement and it slows everything down. And that look, I'm going to look at you now, Tabby. That look in the eyes is a moment.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a huge moment, but it's also a real grounding moment as well.
Yes.
It's a real grounding moment. You look into the eyes of the person that you want to be with more than anybody else, and it's giving you that security and safety, and that, you know, it's a hug without being a hug, isn't it? You know, it's saying, do you know what, we're here, we're in this together, and we're good, kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So doing small little things like what you've said is just stopping and watching, or doing the things that make us slow down, will help with our anxiety, will help with the peer pressure and worrying about everything's perfect. You know, when we slow it down. So my tip was going to be, the morning of your wedding is, don't try and cram everything in. Oh my God. Exceptionally early for the hair and makeup, okay, right? And then you've got to last the whole day, probably not slept the night before because you're too giddy because you're getting married. Then you've got to get married, last the whole day. You want your makeup to be perfect, you want your dress to still be perfect, your outfit to be perfect, you want everything to still be perfect. But guess what? Our bodies aren't meant to do that in such a manner.
No,
so have a calm morning. Morning, relax, take it easy, go with the flow, don't try and cram too many things in. And just and also don't try and see too many people in the morning as well. It's my little tip, because I always say,
because everyone's got an opinion of what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. Don't. You know, no, absolutely, I totally agree. And you know, whether we're working with wedding clients, you know, brides on the morning as they get married, or grooms or whatever, or I'm working coaching with musicians, all I say is, on a performance day, because this is what it is, you know, it could be an athlete, this is a performance day, whether it's the day you get married or you're going to go and run a marathon. Take everything a little bit slower, organize what you have to do, and give yourself time and space to do it without getting too, you know, overwhelmed and building up your heart rate. The other thing that I've really found, and this is a little bit contentious, and maybe it's not what I should be saying as a wedding planner on the day of a wedding, but I find grooms get really nervous, you know, before the ceremonies and all the rest of it. And the biggest thing that I find is this pressure they're putting on themselves, because they're saying to themselves, this is it, this is forever, you know, I can't do this. And suddenly they're not thinking about the person that they know they love, or the relationship they've got, or the marriage they're going to have. They're thinking of this suddenly as this prison sentence, you know, or something like that. And they're getting so wound up, and they're getting so wound up and nervous about the ceremony coming up, because it's like, but this is forever. And I had one groom, and he was in such terrible shape. He was throwing up beforehand. He was so nervous, and it was because this idea of, oh my God, this is forever. And the only way that I could calm down, I went, look, do you know what? I'm just going to tell you this, not because I believe it or for anything else, but I just want to make you feel better. This doesn't have to be forever. You know, and it doesn't. What you're doing now is right for here and now, because you're about to commit to someone that you absolutely love here and now. But we don't know what life gives us down the line. We don't know if it's going to be forever. You know, people don't. My husband died. We just do not know. It doesn't have to be forever. There is always options. And as soon as he kind of went, this is for now, because this is right now, I went, because you are enjoying today, because this is your day with the person that you love. And he was fine. He went off happy as Larry. Didn't throw up again. It was great. But he just built himself up, got such inner tears, because it was suddenly, oh my God, this is forever, this is it. And he wasn't thinking about what was happening or who he was doing it with. He was thinking about something that was out of his control, or, you know, because we don't know what's happening further down the line, do we? You know.
No, I think 2020 has taught us all that.
Well, exactly, but
oh my gosh, some absolute amazing tips there, Tabby. So
absolutely.
Yeah, is there anything you would like to round up today's session on the perfect wedding and keeping sane and positive for the lead up, for the day, and the afterwards?
Yeah, I guess it's really hard to round it up, but I think the important things is that, you know, that we look at building positive emotions. Okay, that's the important things, that we're not using the overwhelm and the opinions of others to sort of put us into a negative spiral. Okay, and positivity is not thinking that everything's going to be okay, but it's knowing that we're going to be okay regardless of what happens.
Yeah.
So if we've got that mindset, we can really build on those positive emotions to, you know, harness the possibility, and we can use all those little exercises of, you know, breathing exercises, grounding things. You know, we can think of, you know, we can visualize what our wedding day is going to look like to us and really imagine it in every detail. How do we want it to feel? You know, close your eyes, think about it. How does it feel? How does it sound? What does it look like? You know, and use those things like visualization to really make it happen. You know, we've got this hope that it's all going to be great, but we have to put some action with that as well. So putting in the good things to, like, look after yourself first, put yourself first, put the wants and needs of you and your partner first, over and above everyone. And that's self-care and that's self-confidence as well. And the more positive emotions that we generate, the more action we're going to take, the more resilience we're going to build. You know, and it's that resilience that we're going to need to bounce back when things go wrong or it's not deemed to be perfect, you know. So we're doing this all the time through being positive. So,
Yeah.
you know, it starts with that hope. We do the exercises, you know, we look after ourselves, we build the positive emotions, you know, we take the action, and then we achieve everything that we want out of our marriage and our wedding. But
Yeah.
we really make it our own. Okay, we're not buying into the traditions or anything like that. If we want to look after ourselves, we have to make it our own and be creative and courageous enough to do that.
Agree. I totally agree. My last tip is try and, if we go back to the wedding morning when I was explaining, try not to cram too much in. What I also find is when a bride is collecting a wedding dress of the week of a wedding, she's trying to do too much. So I always, when it's like alteration stage, which is several weeks before your wedding date, is I always make sure I ask the question, have you got all your jobs done? If you haven't, get them done before your next fitting, because after your next fitting, you want to relax. You want the week before your wedding day to just, everything's been done, it's been ticked off. You're just going to rest, you're going to prep yourself for that day. Like you said, you're an athlete. So if you're doing too much for the lead up for your wedding day, by the time you get on your wedding day, you're going to be exhausted. Your anxiety creep because you're tired. Because when you're tired, your mental health doesn't work as well. We all know that. Me being a business owner, I know that. I can't just keep going and think it's okay. I've got to rest, just like you guys with your wedding days. So I would say make sure everything's done at least a week before, and just rest, pamper yourself morning of the wedding as well, and then know that things are going to go wrong. Things are going to go wrong. It's just natural, isn't it?
And embrace it.
Yes,
absolutely. Embrace it. But the athlete thing is a really good analogy, because, you know, if someone's training for a marathon, the morning before the day of the marathon, they don't go and run a marathon. They haven't run a marathon for 2 or 3 weeks. They've come down on a wind down, and all they're focusing on in that time, the week before, is themselves, looking after their state of mind, looking after their body, looking after their health. The training is done. You're there, you've just got to be mentally prepared, and that comes from putting yourself first and having confidence. So take the time, be organized, use great suppliers, build your own support network, and enjoy it.
And if it does this last little things that you didn't get done, that you know that you didn't get done, no one else knows you didn't get it done. So what? No one's going to miss it. So let's forget about it, put it to the side, and have a good one. So I think it's fantastic, and I think we need to do another one about anxieties on the actual wedding day. I think that'll be a fantastic conversation.
Definitely.
So if anybody has got wants to join in with the conversation, you can find myself, Claire Amelia, on Emporella and Tabby on the Calm Bride or Mode 4, and we'll make sure that both our links are underneath the IGTV, YouTube, podcast, you name it. We're going to get ourselves out there. We've got some changes to make in the wedding industry, I think, and we are excited here at Emporella. So thank you so much, Tabby, for getting on board today. Absolutely loved it, the catch up, and I will catch up with you later.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for having me.